think that's everything. Everyone online, just want to check one more time. Please say something if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, can.
All right, great. Thank you. So finally ready to start. If you can believe it or not, there's an identical classroom on the other side. I taught in there all last term. I had no problems. So I thought this room would work the same, but everything's different apparently. Anyways, my name is Daniel Corks. This is Mathematics for Business. This is section 3. So lots of you here early in the morning, and then lots more people online and joining right now. So today is going to be somewhat short, which is probably the only day we'll have a short class. I usually use the whole time. And today will also be the only day that we don't actually do math. Today, we're just going to talk about course-related things, and then from our next class, we'll be talking about all kinds of math stuff. Right, the battery on that laptop's terrible, so you have to plug this in, and there's a plug right back here. Thank you. Okay, so course information. I'll talk about just some overview stuff with the course, and then but the course itself, and then why do we want to, or if this is a business school, why is math important? That won't take too long. And then just an overview of the contents, and then some English vocabulary for talking about math in English, and then that will be it for today. So name, email address, office hours, or office and office hours. If you're online on the Google Classroom page, which maybe some of you saw, there'll be a link to just register online, and we can have a meeting on Zoom, or just come to my office in person, 211 there. So this course is Mathematics for Business. If I were to give it a different title, I would call it Essential Math for Doing Business Stuff Later, or perhaps high school math you didn't do in high school or just forgot about. I'll explain what I mean by those in a little bit. Grading, so 20% attendance, that's the same for all classes at SolBridge, pretty standard. Math class, so we'll have homework, but most of the grading is coming from the midterm and final. So you have to show in person that you can do all of the math stuff that's required. Perhaps different from what, like, all of you are from different math backgrounds, and different countries teach math in different ways. Lots of countries will do just math is just multiple choice tests, and you don't have to show your work. You just get the right answer, and that's enough. That's not what we're going to do. You're going to be all the homework and the exams. You're writing out your full solution, showing your steps in your thinking process. If there's a question worth 5 points and you write just the answer, you'll get maybe 1 point. If you want full points, you show the thinking process. Not every single little thing, but enough steps that I can see your thinking process, and I know that you understand the process and you didn't just guess the answer. So no multiple choice. That's just sort of a big adjustment for some people. So Zoom, for any of you who haven't done a whole lot of Zoom classes before, if you're on a laptop, just remember that this is funny because I'm talking to you in person. You're clearly here in person, but for everyone online, your laptop microphones are usually not very good. So if you have headphones or a little headset or something that you can use, that's usually much better microphone quality. Not just for this class, but all of your classes. If you're speaking, press the unmute button, then wait like 1 second, then talk, because it takes a second for your microphone to turn on. And remember to mute yourself afterward, because it's very annoying for me to have to go into the list of people and mute people who forgot to do that. So unmute, talk, then mute again afterward. In the Zoom chats and everything, it's an extension of the classroom. So etiquette and everything that you would do in a real classroom, that's what's expected on Zoom. Your clever jokes and memes, put those on your Facebook page. They don't belong in the Zoom chat. All right. Attendance. Some professors do the attendance for Zoom a little differently. Normally, I forgot to prepare this for today. I'll have a sign-in paper for you guys here in the classroom. For everyone online on Zoom, the custom Zoom link that you got in that confirmation email, that's you. That link is just for you, so don't share it with your friends. That's how I know that you personally have joined, and I'll do attendance based on that, and you don't have to worry about anything else. Other professors tell you to like write your name and student number every time into the chat or other things. I think that's a little too labor intensive, so I have a different way of doing it. We are hybrid. That will probably last for the entire semester. I guess if COVID stuff gets like really terrible, then we might have to do all online, but can't predict what will happen there. But those of you who are not in the country, to my knowledge, at least online will happen for the entire semester, so you don't have to worry about having to come in person if you can't, like if your airports are closed or whatever. So should be at least hybrid for the whole semester. Great. So half because this is an online semester and half just because I like using a lot of tech stuff. We're going to use a bunch of different online platforms for class. So Zoom obviously is one of them. I usually record all of my lectures for this course and I just put them on a YouTube playlist. So if there's something that was really hard, you didn't follow it, you can just go back and watch the video and see it again. Google Classroom is kind of the hub for all of this. Lecture notes, the homework, exams are going to be done through Google Classroom. So there's a link on the Smart LMS for how to join our Google Classroom page, but then everything else is going to be through the Google Classroom page. So please make sure you've signed up for that. We'll use Discord. I'll mention a little bit more about that in a moment. Just when you're signing up for things, please use your actual name so I know it's actually you. If just some mystery person is sending me homework, I'm not going to grade it. I have to know it's you. So please choose clear display names and please only sign up once for each of these things. Once the course list is finalized, I'm going to go through if I've seen you signed up. If I see that you've signed up a few times, I'm just going to kick your extra accounts out. It's just more work for me. So please just sign up once. If you're confused about something, just wait or ask me questions and we'll get it figured out. Okay, so Google Classroom. There's an app which you can download for phones or just use the web browser on your phone or on your laptop and it will work. It's very convenient. It's I personally think it's a little nicer than the Smart LMS. But we have a lot of data, the homework, which I'll mention in a bit. You're going to be writing by hand and taking photos and sending those to me. It turns into a huge amount of data and it's too much for our Smart LMS. So Google has like infinite server space. So run everything through Google. There's the join codes. It's on the Smart LMS page, so you can see the code for how to join. It's not very hard to figure out. Right, so a little thing here. If the name I will see in Google Classroom is whatever the display name is on your account. So if it's like your clever internet name or your Fortnite name or something, maybe change that or make a new account and join with that one if you're like a famous YouTube streamer and you don't want to change your name or something. So if you do want to change it, accounts.google.com, and it's pretty obvious how to change your name. Discord. Everyone knows what Discord is? Yeah, most people. Okay, just in case you haven't, it's an online sort of community tool, like basically a chat program, but based on like groups or teams. So you can have one group of people, but organized into different chat channels. So I will use this for like announcements or homework related questions or other help or whatever. So in our Discord channel, there are 3 sections of this class. All the students will be in the one place. So if you're confused about some homework thing or you missed something in a lecture, you can ask there, and then like any other student could answer you. If you have questions for me, then like you can just ask me publicly, and then I answer once, and then everyone sees that. So I don't have to answer the same question 10 different times. I also hate email. I get so many like administration emails every day. It's easy for me to miss student emails. So if you send me messages on Discord, like I will look because I know it's just for the class. I'm more likely to see it. So information about how to join our Discord servers on our Classroom page, Google Classroom page. Textbooks. We will have some textbooks. You do not need to buy anything. These are open textbooks. They're free. There's a PDF. Just go there. You can download the PDF. You can view it all at the web page. It's nicer because textbooks are expensive, and these are good books. They're not low quality or anything. The main one that we're using is this one, Intermediate Algebra. We'll have some extra material as needed. That's going to be on the Classroom page. I'll explain all of that. But for the first half of the semester, pretty much everything will be from this textbook. So easy to access. Other kind of just big course organization thing. The midterm and the final exam, you are not going to be allowed to use calculators. So when you're doing homework or doing practice questions, try to not use a calculator. If you're that kind of person, if that's a habit that you have, try to slowly change that. The questions will be designed that you can do them fairly easily without a calculator. Like you won't have to do big, long calculations. If you are doing those, then you've probably made a mistake somewhere in the question, and that's why that's happening. So the questions will not be too like painful or whatever to do without a calculator. If you're the kind of person you see like 13 plus 9, and then you say, I don't know, and you go straight for a calculator, start to change that habit because you won't be able to do that on the exam. And yeah, you definitely do not need to buy any kind of fancy calculator for the course. Okay, so I'll explain this a bit in a moment, but does anyone have questions so far? If you're online, you can just speak, we'll hear you, or you can write into the chat.
I'm sorry, it's not a question, but my friend, she's also in this class and she didn't receive the email to join.
Okay, the smart LMS, the smart.wsu.ac.kr, she can log in there, and then there's a register link for the Zoom session there.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Corks?
Yeah.
I also have a question. For the Google Classroom, can we use our own email address, or has it be the email address of our SolBridge?
Right, yeah. So it needs to be something that's linked to a Google account. By default, your SolBridge accounts are not linked through Google. They're through Outlook, so that's a Microsoft account. So yeah, any personal email address is fine. I don't care what email address you use for that. Just your display name needs to be like your actual name so I can identify you. There's also on the Google Classroom page, if you go to the classwork tab, and then the very bottom, there's a tech setup thing where you're also going to tell me your actual name and your student ID just to make sure I can identify everyone. So personal email addresses are fine. Just make sure I can see your actual name.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else? Yeah. Yeah, attendance, this little white box right there on the ceiling, not at the window, like right above you, That's the attendance beacon. There have been problems in this room. Has anyone tried it? Did it work? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so last semester it wasn't working in these two classrooms. So I'll have just a paper sign-in sheet, which I'll put here and you'll just sign in as you come. That's, I think, I don't know, maybe that will get fixed at some point, but we'll do that. For this week, since everyone's adding and dropping classes and switching around and everything, we're just gonna mark everyone present, but from next week, we'll just have a paper sign-in. If the thing starts working, then you can sign in with your apps. Other questions? All right. Oh, just a little bit of kind of justification for this class if it's necessary. A few years ago, I had a student who said this to me, like, math class, why do I have to do math? Like, I signed up for a business school. I didn't expect to have to do math. So I was just, I was humored by that. But just in case that's you, I'll give an explanation for why we are doing this. So as humans, of course, we run on feelings. If you're going to choose the blue shirt or the red shirt, you don't do some calculation. You just feel, yeah, I feel like this one today. Do you want to date this person or that person? Like, you don't make a calculation. You just choose. This one feels better. The business world, or a good business, doesn't do that. They look at data and they'll run on numbers. So how to increase efficiency? Should we put the blue shirts on display or the red shirts on display? Well, which ones sell better and which one has lower costs for us, whatever. They're going to make a calculation to make that decision. Even with something like human relationships, where it seems like they're hard to really measure, some dating app, do they want to recommend this person or that person to you? They're going to do some sort of calculation, well, similar habits and lives close by, and they'll say, well, these two people have a 76% chance of dating, so we're going to match them up and not those other people. Anything can be turned into numbers, which there's even a book, a very well-known book called How to Measure Anything. Like, really anything. You can turn it into data and find some way to measure it. So some real world thing, and we can measure that, turn it into data, but data is just a big giant list of numbers. It's hard for us to make a decision directly off the data. We have to manipulate it. We have to do things with it. So we find out, where is the middle point of that data? What is the spread of that data? What's it going to do in the future? All of that is math. So averages or medians will tell us where the middle is. Variance will tell us what the spread is. We can find a line of best fits to find out what a pattern is, and then extrapolate and say, okay, in a few years, it's probably going to go there. All of that manipulation is math. So that's how we get information to make smart business decisions. So as you will realize in next semester when you take the intro to macroeconomics class, there's a lot of math happening in those classes, a lot of calculus. Businesses will also, anything big data related is basically statistics, but just statistics with huge data sets. Statistics, obviously math as well. You'll have a statistics class in your second year, first or second semester, I forget which one. So good businesses, good analytics, good decisions are based on numbers, and we need math to interpret those numbers. So that's why. For this course, all that being said, we here with me are not going to do a whole lot of the business applications. That's for the business professors and the finance and the accounting and the econ classes. We will more be focusing on just kind of the core math skills with some little, just kind of first little hints of here's where this is a work used in the business world. But again, your business professors will go really deep into that stuff with you. We're just focusing on the core math skills primarily. I mentioned the first two courses, honors math or data analytics. Those are optional based on certain streams or which like 2+2 program you're doing or whatever. But yeah, there's a lot more math that can be learned and can be applied. to the business world. The other potential name for this, long name for this course is high school math you didn't do in high school or just forgot about. So stuff that we'll be doing, there's a little bit of stuff that's sort of beyond what is typically taught in high school, but a lot of it is going to be review of maybe like a final year of high school level math. Because again, all of you are coming from different backgrounds with different math experience. Maybe some of you had like optional math classes that you didn't take because you focused on something else. So this class is just sort of kind of leveling everyone out and making sure we all have the same background so that your future professors just, okay, they can expect that everyone will know these things and base their courses on that. So for some of you, this stuff will be review. Some of you, it will be quite new. Even if most of it's review, there are little, again, some first steps of kind of beyond that high school level. That will be new for everyone. Linear programming, for example, is a big thing that I've never heard of a high school that teaches that, for example. And the final 3 weeks of the term, we're going to be doing calculus. Again, not everyone has done calculus, like an introduction to calculus in high school, so that will be our last part of the course. So that's, I hope when I say high school math, you don't think, okay, well, this will be really easy. Like I will have some relatively high expectations, but that's kind of, it could be stuff that you, maybe a lot of you have seen before, at least a little bit. So a specific list of that, this is a short version of it. There's a much longer, like week by week breakdown on our classroom page. But linear algebra, so all kinds of things with straight lines and linear relationships for the first half of the term. So lines intersecting and how can we make conclusions based on that. And matrices, which again, not everyone does, or a lot of people don't do in high school. And then sequences and series, that should take us to our midterm. And then after the midterm, non-linear relationships, so not straight lines, various curved lines, and then how do we like maximize this thing or minimize that thing. That will bring us to our calculus topic. So straight lines before the midterm and then non-straight lines after the midterm. That's the basic version of it, but again, there's a much more detailed list on our classroom. Okay, content. So the first thing to go over today is just some math terminology. For a lot of you, this might be your first time doing a math class in English. So it's not just the math, we have to be able to talk about it as well. So I will be lecturing and talking about this stuff. Your future classes too, the professors will be talking about the math stuff, so we have to know how to actually just read this. So these ones are not too hard, but the next page we have some stuff maybe a little less common. Okay, first thing, how do we read this first one? Okay.
3 multiplied by 2.
So 3 times 2 or 3 multiplied by 2, both are fine, and then equals 6 or is 6. The next one, how do we read this? Okay, 3 divided by 2, and then, okay, 1.5. So not everyone knows how to read the decimals. So if this were an English class, then this would be a period, but this is a math class, so that's a decimal, and we'd read as 1.5 or 2.6 or whatever. How about fractions? How do we read fractions? Okay, 3 over 2. So just physically over on top of, so 3 over 2. All right, and these exponents, how do we read the first one? Okay, so 3 squared. So special one there, one more special one here. Cubed, 3 cubed. So if you were finding the area of a square with length 3, then okay, 3 times 3, 3 squared. That's where that name is coming from. And the other one, same thing. If you had a cube, each side was length 3, then that would give you the volume. So 2 special ones there. More generally, how do we read these? Okay, so yeah, not everyone's familiar with these ones. So a to the exponent b is the version of this. Some teachers, especially if you listen to like Americans talk about math, they would say a to the power b. I think technically this is a little more accurate, but lots of people say the other one too, so both would be fine. A here, the main number is the base, and then the b is the exponent, and then the two together are a power. So powers of a, or if I had, I can't write on nope. So like this sequence, these are powers of 2 because it's 2 to some exponent, and then it's the result of that. Those are the powers. So that's why I think exponents b here is a little more accurate. But again, people will say both of those. So this could also be change the word exponent for power. You will hear that a lot if you you watch math videos on YouTube or something. All right, let me mute the little incoming sound thing. Okay. So one more page of these. If we have something like this, y equals 3x plus 2, x and y are what? No, or there's a fancier name. That could work. There's a more general term we'd use most of the time. Arguments is sort of like, you know, the programming world.
Coordinates?
If these are not quite coordinates.
Variables.
Variables. So a number that varies is a variable. So just simple terms here. And then in an equation like this, if 2 is the what?
Constant?
Constants. So variables and constants. And then the 3 here. So it's a constant, but it's attached to a variable. There's a fancy name for that. Coefficient. So coefficient. These are not random words. We are going to be using these a lot. I will be saying these words a lot. So that's why I'm showing all of these to you now. Okay, and then the whole thing, I said it already. Okay, equation is the word I'm thinking of. Functions, very similar. So the whole thing is an equation, like equals, because the one side is equal to the other side. So variables, constants, coefficients. All right, and how do we read this next one with the 2 and the 3 here? Is what's happening. There's a slightly different expression that we would use. That's the standard math expression.
2 is less than 3.
Okay, less than. So less than is the standard expression. This is a less than sign. So 2 is less than 3. And what about the other one?
5 is
Sorry, I heard the or equals. What was the other part?
5 is bigger or equal to b.
Okay, more, bigger, those make sense, but there's a different standard expression.
Larger.
Larger also makes sense, but that's not the one I'm looking for. Daniel, like take your pick. Which English word is the one that? So greater.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the standard math term. That's what you'll always see in math textbooks. So 5 is greater than or equal to p. All right. So both of these two things as a category. If the two sides are equal, that's an equation. What if the two sides are not equal, but they have this kind of relationship? System is if we have multiple equations or multiple of these things.
Inequalities.
Inequalities. So you might think, okay, equation, so inequation makes sense. Yes, that does make sense, but that's not the standard math word. I didn't make it up, so don't blame me. This inequality is the standard expression there. So equations and inequalities, we'll be dealing with inequalities when we do linear programming stuff in week like 4, week 5. Okay, so that's some basic terminology. Again, I'm just gonna kind of show you this and let this start sinking in, and then we'll actually start doing math stuff with this in our next class. All right, so just wrapping up here, kind of a final note. Some of you were maybe people who were pretty strong with math stuff in high school and before you came here, and you're not too worried about this class. That's great. Some of you are maybe people who are not so great at math and you're kind of worried about this. If that's you, just some little notes here about how to learn math well. It's very easy to kind of watch me explain something in a lecture, and then afterward you feel like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. Well, yes, because I was explaining it to you. If you want to know if you actually understand something, then you need to do a practice question on your own without looking at the textbook, without asking a friend for help in a reasonable amount of time. You do a practice question, you can get through it within like a few minutes or something. That's when you know that you actually understand that thing carefully or in detail. If you haven't done that, if you haven't tried to do a practice question on your own, then you don't know if you understand it or not, because you haven't actually tested your knowledge. So listening to me explain things and it feels like it makes sense is very tempting, but you have to actually practice these questions on your own to know if you actually understand it. If you don't understand it, then we'll have workshops for more practice. Talk to me in office hours, go back and watch one of the lecture videos again or something, and you can review that way. But this is how to actually test if you know something or not. The other big thing, so preview, very useful. Actually, I have posted them. The questions that we will talk about in our next class, I've posted them already on our page. Even the ones for next class, they're not hard. It's just practicing talking about the questions. But when we get to newer material, I will post preview questions before I have actually taught you how to do those things. Excuse me. So it might seem weird to look at the question before you understand how to do it, but just take a guess, think about what maybe could work, and I'll ask you to give me an answer to the preview question, just whatever your guess is before, and then in the class afterward, I'll actually talk about those questions and how to do them. So that may feel like a waste of time doing a question that you maybe don't understand how to do yet, but psychologically that creates the space in your brain to be ready to learn that thing. It's like building the shelf, then you come to the class and it's easier to organize that information. So preview, it's actually very effective for helping you learn things. So if you're more concerned about this class, that is a very good way to help yourself prepare. Right, so the, actually not tomorrow, today, it's already up on the smarts, again, smart.wsdu.ac.kr. Someone can write that into the chat for us, please. You'll find the page for our class, and then I have a link to our Google Classroom page. You can sign up for that, and then everything is there. Do you have access to the Smart LMS? You guys have? seen the most people. Okay, I checked on like Sunday night.
Yes, we have.
and, like at least half of the students had like never accessed the course page. So okay, maybe that's figured out by now. I have another tab open. I'll quickly show you what our classroom page looks like. So you guys are section 3, the green class. So at the top, you just go to the classwork tab, and then as we go, I will fill in like week 2 notes and preview, homework and everything will be up here. But for now, course details, the syllabus, the YouTube videos are here, Zoom registration, which you've probably done, the Discord server link, everything is here. There's, I think I emailed this out to you, or I posted it on the Smart LMS as well. There's also a survey here, which we'd like all students to complete. Just, do you plan to attend classes in person or online, or like online now because you're in quarantine or something, and then later in person. So for each course that you're in, I think professors have already sent you a link to a slightly different form. This is the one I'm using for my classes. So please just do this so we can know kind of how many people will be in the classroom for classroom scheduling and all kinds of stuff. So please do that. So at the very bottom, tech setup, just complete that assignment, and then you're just telling me your name, your student ID, that kind of stuff. So all the information is on the question page there. All right, I think that's everything. Does anyone have other questions they want to ask?
Yes, sir.
Questions?
Yeah. Actually, I logged in late because of I'm not familiar with the logging in.
Yeah, that's,
So
don't worry about that for today. But from our next class, please join on time.
okay. That's
36 and 15. Okay, so I think pretty much everyone is here by the end of this. I'll have a recording of this, but again, everything I've said today is just on the Google Classroom page, so you can check everything there. That's the main thing. Any other questions? Okay. Yeah. All right. On the classroom page, sorry, let me just show you that one more time. The questions that we'll talk about in our next class are posted already. Class notes, week 1, day 2, down here. So these are the questions that we'll be talking about. You can take a look at those. If any of the stuff looks like really confusing and you totally forgot how to do it, then maybe take a little bit of time to try to figure these out. So you can check those on the classroom page. That's what we'll do in our next class. And I'll explain some more about how the homework is going to work in the workshops and stuff. I'll have that for you next time. Okay, I think we're finished. If you have more questions you want to talk to me about, whatever, then just hang around here in the classroom or in the Zoom thing, and I'll talk to you about that. The math diagnostic test from last night, there were a lot of people who weren't able to join. There was a problem with the link or whatever. I'll figure out who those people are, and then I'll contact them separately. So a lot of people sent me emails about that. Just wait a bit until later today, and I'll contact you about that if that's you. Okay, we're finished. Goodbye, everyone. See you on Thursday.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.